were the first problems that we did. So let's go and look at this one, the first one. Let's see what the the steps that we took the day that I presented it. If we click on that one, on the first post, it will take us to just a link that is the online book from the university. And all we're going to do right now is just create a very basic program in Java. And all you have to do is pretty much type these few words. But first, we have to create the actual project. And I ask you to have some type of organization on how to do this. I think it's important to be organized. And if we look, let's see if I can pop up the. So my computer is a little bit different, but you will see at the end the similarities of it. So let's take a look at. You should have according a Java folder according to your period, then get unit one, and then you created a project, a BlueJ project called Basic Programs One. And you know that it's a project because you can see the BlueJ bird icon over here. So what we did in class is we created a new program. And in Java, I told you that in Java we actually call them actually a new class. And let's call it Hello World. Oopsie, oopsie. There you go. And then the next step I told you to do was, for now, just this description is sufficient. It's a very simple program. There is not much to add to it. So we're going to leave it the way it is. Then I want your name on it. I also want the version of Java at the date. So you can check what version of Java you have, but I think I have like 8 or 9, something like that. And then the date when we did this, it was I think it was yesterday. I mean the 20th. Mm, I ask you to look at the when you place the actual cursor on this curly brace, you can see that this one is highlighted. I mean that those two are matching. For every parenthesis that you open, there has to be one that closes. For every curly brace that you open, there should be a counterpart that is the closing one. And the same thing for each of this. Well, we got rid of everything and we left behind the outermost curly braces. This is what it should look like, the first program that you write in. And now we're going to type the hello world. Now I ask you to type it because I think it's important for you the first time around to get used to the specifics of this. For example, this line over here, what are the components in there? We have, let's put it over here, and I'm going to spend a little more time now to talk about. So, keywords. The keywords over here in this first line above it is public, must be there, static, must be there, void must be there, main must be there, and a string must be there with an uppercase. There's an extra space over here. And of course, we have these two brackets. Some of you might know what that means, the square brackets. Those are all, so these are keywords. Let's take a look. Let's make a distinction between these two things. So also notice that when I use two forward slashes, this turns grayish because it's a comment. So these are all keywords. And they must be there. These are no keywords, but they must be there also. Main is the name of the method or function, if you want to call it. You know it as a function in other languages probably, but in Java, we like to call them methods. And later on, much later on, you're going to know why. Um, Let me separate this out of here a little bit. Let me put it in the next one. And maybe some of you would like to tell me what this is when we see each other next time. But the important thing is that a string has to be spelled just the way it is. String must be capitalized. Must be capitalized. I think it's a D in there. All right. So I put a lot of information that I would like you to have as part of your notes. We're gonna talk about that. You're gonna have a grade for notes also. So this has to be part of it. We're gonna put it all together, and that will be your resources because obviously. The books, if we buy your books, they get outdated very quickly. And if we go to online sites, we have to pick and choose exactly what we want to discuss in this class. We cannot narrow it down to exactly what we need. So the next thing over here, as you figured out by now, because I show you that the forward slashes are comments, this is a comment of the output. But the next thing that comes over here is this line. It would be good if you type it instead of copying it because then you get used to of the things that you're doing. For example, system also has to be capitalized. So I'm gonna take little shortcuts because I'm not good at typing anyways. System must be capitalized. The next thing is this over here technically is print line. LN. LN, meaning L as in Lillian, I guess, and N as in Nancy. Which actually what this does is brings the cursor to the next line. You're going to see later on that without the LN, the cursor stays on the same line that is printing, and then you can print sideways. So that's pretty much what we needed over here to type. Now, we have to match up. This is one of the problems that students have. Number one problem, I think this time, the curly brace took the lead on the most problems the students have. Make sure that if you open one of these curly braces, you have to have that one that closes, and here it is. So now we need a matching one for this one, and that should be right after this, because all of these lines over here, I have the ability to have this option, numbering the lines. I don't know if you have it. Last year in the laptops, I couldn't find it in that version of BlueJ. Everything that's in here, let me highlight it over here, like this, belongs to main, a method called main. And that's why it's enclosed in curly braces. And you can see how they get highlighted, right? So if I put it over here, you can see which one it is. Okay, the next thing to do is to compile. You're used to a language like Python maybe, in which you didn't have to compile because it was an interpreter. But this is a compiling type of language. So you first have to do one step before you actually execute it. You compile, saves it, it tells you if you have any errors or not. For example, let's say I do the second most common error, which is missing the actual semicolon. So some of you who have a more recent version, you might get a red square right here. My version is older, so it doesn't show it. And I compile it, and it gives me information. It doesn't have the best debugger, but it's enough to work with. It's telling me that I'm missing a semicolon. So that's the number two, I guess, this year, most common error. And the number three is that some students have done something like this. Not just the semicolon, they forgot to actually also forget to do the actual closing the parentheses. So, and it's telling you here that it's missing the closing of the parentheses. So let's say we go by the steps. We put the parentheses over here, And we compile it again, and I should tell you that you're missing the semicolon. And there you go. Yeah. All right, now we're ready to execute this. So we need to find the project. Let's see where my project is. I had it right here, but when let me put it in a place that I can find it easily. Here's my project. Put it over here so I can get to it. And this one is going to be right next to it so I can get to it too. This one went out of the screen. So right click on this, and then you should have a method called main, which actually refers to this main method over here. That's number one. Number two, if this is not nicely solid color, if you have either lines or the lattice pattern of lines, that means that either you didn't compile it or you have an error that you have to take care of. Once it's nice and clean and you right click, which you can do it either with the command and touching the sense pad or two fingers on the sense pad, you run, you click, I should say, on main. This will execute. Main, it's going to ask you for the arguments. This is what it's actually doing over here. We are not putting any arguments right now. We're going to say, okay, and then we should pop up, we should have the output terminal pop up. Let me make it smaller so it's easy to get to. And there it is. All right. So that would be the first thing that I wanted you to do, the first class. We're going to do more in the next video. If you have any questions, you can contact me. And you have many ways of contacting me. I think I already offer quite a number of ways to contact me. And like I always say, the sooner you contact me, as soon as the problem arises, contact me right away. See you soon.